This is example 3.8 on page 106 of your textbook. And here we're going to go over how to name not ionic compounds this time, but molecular compounds. So remember, molecular compounds contain only nonmetals. So in this example, it's asking us to name each compound, A, B, C, and if you look at all three of these compounds, there are no metals in sight. They only contain nonmetals. Ni3, 2 nonmetals, PCl5, 2 nonmetals, and P4S10 are also 2 nonmetals. So molecular compounds, I think, are some of the easiest compounds to name. Basically, you determine how many of each type of element are present when naming by putting a prefix in front of them. So the prefixes are, I will write them, mono, meaning 1, di, meaning 2, tri, meaning 3, tetra, meaning 4, penta, meaning 5, hexa, meaning 6, hepta, meaning 7, octa, meaning 8, nona, meaning 9, and deca, meaning 10. So those are your prefixes. Hopefully most of those are semi-familiar to you. Hopefully you've seen most of those before in other classes. So the way that we name each of these compounds is you put a prefix in front of the first element to indicate how many of them there are, and you put a prefix in front of the second element and change the ending to IDE to indicate how many of that element are present. So I'm going to erase this over here so I have room to write. So for A, Ni3. So one little caveat to naming is anytime your first element only has 1, it's understood that it's 1, so we don't have to write the mono prefix. So A is not mono nitrogen, it's just nitrogen because there's only one of them. So A, the first part would be nitrogen. And then the second part, we have 3 iodide ions. Remember, we're replacing the INE ending with IDE. Since there are 3 of them, our prefix is tri. So the answer for this would be tri. And yes, you keep the I on that. Iodide, like that. So nitrogen, triiodide. And there is that double I. For the second one, B, we have PCl5. So we have 1 P, but it's understood that it's 1 since it's first, so we don't have to put mono in front of it. So this would be phosphorus. And we have 5 chloride ions. The prefix for 5 is penta, so it would be phosphorus pentachloride, since there's 5 chlorine ions. And then last but not least, C, we have P4S10. So now our first element isn't just 1, it's another number other than 1, happens to be 4. So here we do have to put a prefix. The prefix for 4 is tetra, so it's going to be tetra phosphorus. And the sulfur has 10, so the prefix for 10 is deca. So it's going to be tetra phosphorus deca sulfide. Remember, we replace the I and E ending, or in this case, it's the UR ending with IDE because it's existing as an ion. So there you have it, nitrogen triiodide, phosphorus pentachloride, and then tetraphosphorus decasulfide. And that's how you name molecular compounds.